There's a night in the Bible almost nobody talks about the way it should be talked about. A night etched in crimson and silence, a night so pregnant with dread and divine power that God's instruction to his chosen people was stark and absolute: do not venture outside. Do not even glance at the horrors unfolding beyond your walls. Seal yourselves within. Imagine the weight of that command. Picture yourself huddled with loved ones in a confined space. The aroma of sacrificial lamb hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the metallic scent of blood, now a drying testament on your doorframe. Your only task is to wait, a passive observer in a drama of cosmic proportions. The wind stills its restless dance. The vibrant chorus of nocturnal creatures fades into an unnerving hush. Even the hum of insects disappears, swallowed by an oppressive silence. And then, piercing the void, you hear it, a sound utterly alien to the realm of the living. A presence vast and incomprehensible sweeps through the streets. Slow, deliberate, and inexorable force that defies description. Imagination fails. Fear takes root. No brave soul dares to peek through a crack in the door, for out there, cloaked in that eerie, unnatural stillness, walks an angel. Not a benevolent guardian, but an instrument of divine judgment. The angel of the firstborn. Every heart in that room pounds with a desperate, unspoken question. Will it pass over us? Will it spare my family? Will my child be safe? Breath catches in your throat as the presence draws nearer, bypassing one home then another, until finally it pauses, right outside your door. In that heart-stopping moment, the full gravity of God's command crashes down upon you. Don't look, don't move, don't even try. For history has never witnessed, nor will it ever again, another night of such potent terror and transformative power. Before we immerse ourselves in this extraordinary tale, if you are drawn to unraveling hidden biblical narratives, exploring profound mysteries, encountering angels, delving into ancient conflicts, and witnessing divine interventions, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell, ensuring you never miss another enlightening exploration right here on Bible Mysteries. Night descended upon Egypt with an almost palpable sense of foreboding. Earlier that day, the kingdom exuded an illusion of invincibility. Sunlight gilded the golden towers, illuminated the decorated chariots, reflected off the polished marble courtyards, the shimmering statues, and the proud visages of its warriors. The markets pulsed with activity, merchants haggling, musicians entertaining, and royal servants rushing through the grand halls, carrying treasures destined for privileged officials. Yet beneath that dazzling facade lurked an invisible tension. Something restless, something ancient, something poised to strike. For months, Pharaoh had stubbornly ignored Moses' warnings. 10 encounters marked by undeniable miraculous power only served to harden his resolve, fueling his fury and humiliation. Each successive plague exposed vulnerabilities he refused to acknowledge. The life-giving Nile turned to crimson. Frogs swarmed even the royal chambers. Lice infested the priests during sacred ceremonies. Devastating hail shattered orchards and crops. Swarms of locusts devoured every green thing in sight. A suffocating darkness blanketed the land for 3 agonizing days. Yet Pharaoh clung to his pride like an impenetrable suit of armor. Within the palace walls, his advisors murmured their concerns. Military commanders observed a disturbing lack of focus amongst their usually disciplined soldiers. Farmers desperately pleaded for respite. Mothers whispered prayers, seeking divine protection. Even the high-ranking prophets struggled to defend traditions that now appeared fragile and impotent. Still, Pharaoh remained defiant, his heart calcified, devoid of compassion. In the damp, oppressive confines of the prison cells, Hebrew families offered hushed prayers, their voices cracking with despair. Exhausted men toiled under the relentless sun, enduring brutal labor. Mothers cradled their infants on meager straw mats, clinging to the faint hope of deliverance. Young boys burdened with heavy bricks composed of sand clay and crushed limestone dreamt of a freedom they had never known. The spiritual tension between heaven and Egypt intensified, building like distant thunder. Though no audible sound resonated through the stone streets, the spiritual conflict raged louder than any army preparing for war. Moses felt its oppressive weight each morning as he approached Pharaoh's throne. Aaron sensed it during quiet moments around their campfires. Israel understood it intuitively, their suffering amplifying their awareness. A final decisive confrontation loomed. Just days before Moses stood before Pharaoh within a majestic audience chamber illuminated by flickering torches. Yahweh's authority dwarfed Egypt's temporal power. Even as Pharaoh feigned indifference, Moses spoke with unwavering calm. "Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will pass through Egypt." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Guards recoiled, gripping their spears. Advisors exchanged horrified glances. Musicians froze mid-note. Even Pharaoh's countenance shifted, a fleeting expression of anger, warring with fear, a struggle to maintain his composure. Moses continued, "Every firstborn in this land shall die, from your heir who sits upon the throne to the servant girl grinding grain, and even the livestock grazing in the fields." A stunned silence followed his pronouncement. No previous plague had sounded so absolute, so irrevocably final. Yet Pharaoh refused to yield. His pride, wounded by previous humiliations, once again rejected mercy. He ordered Moses to be forcibly removed, hurling curses as he was dragged away. However, those standing nearby detected something beneath the king's rage, panic thinly veiled as authority. Moses departed the palace knowing that heaven was preparing for an event unprecedented in human history. As evening approached, Hebrew households meticulously followed precise instructions. Families sacrificed unblemished lambs, roasting the meat over open fires. They mixed unleavened dough and gathered bitter herbs, symbolizing their past hardships. The blood brushed across the door frames formed a divinely recognized shield. Children watched their fathers carefully paint the crimson strokes on the wooden beams. Mothers whispered reassurances, unaware of the imminent danger that lurked so close. Candles flickered within modest dwellings as families partook in a hurried meal, wearing traveling garments, sandals, fastened walking sticks at the ready. This meal felt different, imbued with an urgency, a solemnity, a prophetic weight. Every bite tasted like the freedom that hurtled toward them with frightening speed. Meanwhile, in Egyptian neighborhoods, life continued with a semblance of normalcy. Many citizens, weary from the recent disasters, yearned for peace, yet clung to their routines in a state of denial. Bakers prepared bread for the morning markets. Fishermen mended their nets beside the riverbanks. Nobles hosted lavish late-night gatherings inside ornate halls adorned with alabaster carvings and ivory furniture. However, a select few more attuned to the subtle shifts in the atmosphere sensed the growing pressure. A royal physician noticed birds seeking shelter unusually early. An elderly woman heard an unsettling silence descend upon the fields where animals normally brayed loudly. A servant watering plants in Pharaoh's courtyard felt the wind vanish abruptly. Even seasoned soldiers guarding the city gates sensed an inexplicable chill in the air. Yet none fully grasped these subtle signs as warnings. Beyond earthly perception, the heavenly realms prepared for action. Angelic forces observed Egypt from vantage points inaccessible to mortal eyes. Among them stood the appointed messenger, an angel entrusted with a command of unimaginable consequence. This being bore no resemblance to the terrifying mythical creatures depicted on temple walls. Radiance enveloped him like liquid starlight. Authority rested upon him effortlessly. Obedience defined his very essence. Though his mission demanded severity, a profound sorrow resided within his gaze, rooted in the countless rejected opportunities for repentance. He waited silently, watching the smoke rise from the Hebrew fires. He listened to the fragments of distant conversations carried on the rooftops. He observed the despair within the palace chambers. He understood justice more perfectly than any human philosopher could. He awaited only Yahweh's command. Yet darkness deepened until it felt almost alive. Moonlight disappeared behind heavy clouds. The air cooled, suddenly raising goosebumps on exposed skin. A rare, unnerving stillness swept across farmlands, alleyways, riverbanks, ports, deserts, temples, and mansions. Egypt inhaled deeply. Heaven exhaled judgment. Then, just before midnight, the angel stepped forward. Not with thunder, not with spectacle, not with noise, but with an authority that required no announcement. He traversed boundaries, effortlessly gliding through shadows, like breath moving through silence. Every living creature sensed his presence, though none could comprehend what approached. Dogs whimpered inside yards. Cats sought refuge under furniture. Babies stirred in their sleep, though remaining unconscious. A movement of divine origin entered Egypt. Families oblivious to the impending danger turned restlessly in their sleep. Even Pharaoh, reclining on luxurious cushions, opened his eyes abruptly, sensing something alien permeating the palace air. The angel's presence was not characterized by violence, but by inevitability. Justice arriving after countless ignored pleas. One more hour remained before Egypt would awaken to its darkest dawn. And somewhere inside a humble Hebrew dwelling, a father tightened his grip around his child, whispering a shaky prayer, afraid even to breathe too loudly. Midnight crept across Egypt without fanfare. No trumpet heralded its arrival. No star marked its beginning. No human recognized the precise moment the hour turned. It slipped in quietly, almost respectfully, as if darkness itself understood the gravity of what was about to unfold. Within Egyptian households, sleep held most citizens in a fragile embrace. Fathers rested after exhausting labor repairing storm damage. Mothers slept beside cradles, unaware that danger hovered inches beyond their walls. Young men dreamed of future successes, military triumphs, and romantic encounters. Children clutched soft blankets, their chests rising and falling in gentle rhythm. Hebrew families remained awake, trembling, listening intently for any sign, footsteps, whine, whispers, warnings. Yet nothing outside offered any clear indication of the approaching judgment. The flames of oil lamps flickered anxiously, casting jittery patterns across the rough clay walls. No one ate, no one slept, no one relaxed. Every heartbeat within that community counted down the agonizing seconds. Outside those blood-marked doorframes, the angel continued his mission with unwavering direction, neither hurried nor hesitant. Instead, he moved with a pace that felt deliberate, measured, calm, and terrifyingly precise. Though invisible to human sight, his presence produced subtle reactions. Grass bent as if swayed by a non-existent wind. Dust parted along stone pathways. Shadows elongated, unnaturally, stretching further than the moonlight would allow. He reached the outskirts of Egypt's first village, pausing briefly, observing, listening, measuring the state of hearts across countless households. His perception transcended anything humans could imagine. Yet his assignment focused on one central truth. Egypt faced the consequences of countless refusals to yield. Not one life, not one tear, not one cry would surprise him. Every future sound already existed within Yahweh's infinite knowledge. He continued. Within an elegant mansion, a firstborn son slept on a bed crafted from cedar imported from distant mountains. He possessed everything wealth could buy, Yet he possessed nothing that could shield him from the approaching presence. Without altering his pace, the angel passed through the walls as easily as smoke drifts through open space. He stood near the young boy's bed for a silent moment. No thunderclap erupted. No blinding flash appeared. Instead, life slipped away with quiet finality. Breath faded, chest stilled, dreams vanished. A peaceful expression remained on his face, as if the transition occurred without pain. The angel turned and stepped back into the street without pause. Far across the city, a servant girl ground wheat by the light of a flickering lantern. Laboring late into the night due to relentless workloads, sweat covered her brow. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Exhaustion clouded her vision. Her child slept nearby on a simple mat woven from reeds. That boy, though barely noticed by society, possessed equal value in heaven's sight. The angel approached their humble dwelling. Passage through the mud brick walls required no force. He paused over the boy, tiny fingers curled into soft fists, chest rising with rhythmic breaths, his innocence unbroken by oppression. Yet command overruled emotion. With a whisper, audible only in heaven, life departed from the child, quietly. The servant sensed something shift in the atmosphere, but continued working, unaware that in mere moments, her world would utterly collapse. Across neighboring fields, livestock stood tethered to wooden posts. Calves slept beside their mothers. Horses rested near large troughs. Even these creatures felt the supernatural movement. The angel approached this area next. One by one, their breath ceased. Farmers still asleep inside their huts had no idea their livelihoods were dying before dawn. Still, no scream rose. No alarm sounded. Egypt slept through catastrophe. Within another district, Pharaoh's palace towered above the city rooftops, illuminated by dozens of torches and guarded by armed watchmen. Luxurious fountains carved from marble glistened in the dim light. Inside a grand chamber, Pharaoh's heir slept on a bed draped in lion skins. He represented his father's pride, Egypt's future, its symbol of power, its continuation of royal lineage. Priests claimed he was protected by gods carved into the stone walls. The angel entered the palace as though nothing could obstruct him. Torches did not flicker. Guards did not notice. Curtains did not move. He stepped inside the chamber, his radiance dimmed deliberately, executing judgment with somber finality. For a second, an instant longer than a heartbeat, he gazed upon Egypt's future as if acknowledging the weight of what he was ending. Then it happened. In that moment, breath ceased, warmth drained, life dissolved, the air lay motionless. Yet still, Egypt slept. Throughout villages, nobles' homes, busy districts, fishing ports, royal barracks, farmland shelters, and humble cottages, identical scenes unfolded. Each firstborn adult, infant, adolescent, servant, prisoner, merchant, soldier met stillness without chaos, without struggle, without physical force. Judgment unfolded like a shadow, moving across quiet landscapes. Inside Hebrew homes, fear reached an unbearable intensity. Families heard something unexplainable outside, not footsteps, not wind, not speech, more like a pressure. An invisible heaviness passing near homes marked with blood. One elderly man whispered, "Is it at our door?" A mother covered her child's ears, unsure why she felt tears welling up. A teenage boy stood gripping his staff, his knuckles white. A little girl hid beneath a table, begging silently for protection. Every soul waited, praying the presence would move past them quickly. Then suddenly, a strange calm settled over their house. The alarm did not vanish, but the suffocating fear eased slightly. Something powerful hovered near, examined, recognized their obedience, and then continued forward. That sensation, an indescribable moment of being inspected by a force beyond comprehension, left everyone trembling. Some released shaky breaths, others collapsed to their knees. A few cried quietly, overwhelmed by relief. Meanwhile, the angel moved deeper into Egypt's heart. He approached cities built near the riverbank's docks, crowded with boats tied to posts, fishermen's nets drying beside huts, small fires crackling near sleeping guards. Dogs began howling without reason. Residents stirred, confused by the discomfort settling around them. Yet none fully awakened. Across the massive farmland, the crops destroyed earlier by hail remained flattened. Workers had left tools scattered after the storms. Wells stood silent. Storage units held dwindling grain. Egypt's already weakened economy was unaware that another blow was arriving stealthily. The angel traversed these regions without slowing. He approached prison camps filled with criminals, political prisoners, and malnourished laborers. Each cell contained individuals with different crimes, stories, and motivations. Some prisoners stared at the floors hopelessly. Others prayed for forgiveness. Yet even within these wretched places, firstborns lay vulnerable. Judgment showed no favoritism, no partiality, no exceptions. A guard at one prison suddenly woke, sensing unnatural chills. He rubbed his arms briskly, mumbling about cold drafts, though the windows remained sealed. He walked down a dim hallway lined with torches burning low. When he checked on the inmates, he shouted for additional help, not realizing that Egypt would soon face identical horror everywhere. Inside temples, priests slept peacefully beneath statues carved to represent deities believed to control fertility storms, harvests, war, and death. Ritual tools rested beside them. Candles burned faintly. Incense sticks smoldered slowly. Yet those gods remained silent. Stone figures did not speak. Carved faces did not move. Metal idols did not shine. Shrines offered no protection. The angel passed through temples untouched by reverence. Every belief system Egypt upheld for generations shattered quietly. Faith built upon tradition, heritage, myth, and superstition collapsed because truth stood before it, indisputable, unstoppable sovereign. Back in the Hebrew quarters, elders recited promises passed down from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They reminded the trembling families that Yahweh remembered every covenant. Children clung to parents. Adults waited on their knees. The stillness outside grew thicker, heavier, more suffocating, as though time paused between breaths. They did not know how widespread the judgment had become. Doors remained sealed. Curtains stayed closed. No one dared to shift the wooden bars locking the entrances. The angel reached the final outskirts of Egypt shortly before dawn. His assignment nearly complete, he surveyed the land once more, registering every life taken during his passage. He carried no pride, no cruelty, no pleasure, only a deep understanding of justice fulfilled. He ascended unseen, returning to realms beyond imagination. Egypt, unknowingly shattered, rested inside the silence, preparing to erupt. The first cry would come soon, and when it did, nothing in that kingdom would remain unchanged. Dawn approached slowly, hesitantly, as if morning itself feared what it would reveal. Soft light crept across rooftops, touching sandstone pathways, brushing over silent courtyards, slipping past wooden gates. Birds usually greeted the sunrise with chirps and restless fluttering, yet not a single wing moved. Egypt rested in a strange hush. Mothers rose first, expecting to begin their morning routines, baking dough, preparing water, washing children, and lighting lamps. One woman inside a small village stirred groggily, stretching her arms before glancing toward the cradle beside her bed. She whispered a gentle greeting to her son, but his body remained unnaturally still. Confusion clouded her expression. She leaned closer, shook him gently, and whispered his name again. Nothing. Her eyebrows tightened as disbelief wrestled with reality. She placed trembling fingers against his chest, waiting desperately for a breath, a twitch, anything. Still nothing. A cold wave rolled through her limbs. She inhaled sharply, clutching the child with frantic urgency. When the truth finally dawned, her voice fractured, releasing a sound raw enough to pierce stone. That scream soared across the village. A second cry rose minutes later from another home. Then another, then another. Within moments, wails thundered across entire neighborhoods like a storm flattening fields. Fear surged through the streets. People spilled into open areas shouting the names of loved ones. Women collapsed onto the ground, clutching lifeless bodies. Fathers beat their fists against walls. Grandparents tore their garments in overwhelming grief. Every corner echoed the same devastation. The cries multiplied, rising like a tidal wave of anguish that swallowed Egypt whole. What began as isolated screams became a chorus of devastation echoing through palaces and prisons alike. The illusion of power collapsed in a single morning. Wealth could not shield. Rank could not bargain. Gods carved from stone could not answer. Egypt awoke to the truth that no empire, no matter how ancient or mighty, can stand against the word of the living God. Inside Pharaoh's palace, the king staggered from his chamber robes, disheveled authority stripped bare. Servants wailed openly. Priests fell silent. The heir of Egypt lay motionless, and with him died Pharaoh's defiance. The king who had challenged heaven now trembled before it. He summoned Moses not in anger, but in surrender. "Go," he said, voice shattered. "Take your people and leave. Bless me also." The night of judgment had broken him. Meanwhile, within Hebrew homes, a different sound filled the air, not screams but weeping mixed with awe. Parents clutched living children, shaking, whispering thanks through tears. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They understood the cost of what had passed over them. Salvation had come, but it came through obedience, through blood on doorposts, through trust in a God whose power is both terrifying and faithful. As dawn fully revealed the aftermath, Israel stepped into history. Slaves became a people marked by covenant. The night of terror became the foundation of remembrance. Generation after generation would speak of this moment not to glorify death, but to testify that God sees, God judges, and God delivers. This night reminds us of a truth many would rather ignore. God's mercy is real, but so is His justice. And when He moves, the world changes. If this story stirred your spirit, challenged your understanding, or awakened reverence within you, you're not alone. These are the mysteries that Scripture holds raw, unsettling, and profoundly holy. Like this video if you value uncovering the deeper, often overlooked moments of the Bible. Comment below with your thoughts. How does this night of judgment and deliverance speak to you today? Follow and subscribe to the Bible Mysteries for more powerful explorations into Scripture's darkest nights and brightest revelations. Some stories are not meant to comfort. They are meant to awaken.